See, now I see the timer.
Now we're recording. Hi, Abe. Welcome
Now we're
back.
good to go. I'm back. So, well, we're still talking about tattoos and whatnot. Like I'm kind of just working on like larger pieces. I don't take on like a crazy amount of new clientele, but I'm also apprenticing a guy, teaching him how to tattoo. So that's always kind of cool. I figure after all these years, I should kind of push a couple of guys in the right direction. I've had my hand in apprenticing several people over the years, but never like just solely my apprentice. So
Oh, but this
um,
guy's yours.
it's, yeah, I mean it's I mean technically any apprentice should be like the shop's apprentice. Like
Okay.
you should be learning from everyone in your environment as far as being an apprentice, but um, he's the first one that I've directly taken on as an apprentice. It gives me the opportunity to still do a lot of tattoo kind of related stuff and kind of pass on some of the shit that I know. But um, I only try and tattoo like a couple of 3 4 days a week or whatever. Um, go home and hang out with the dogs and all that good shit. I'm pretty boring these days compared to
You earned
my
it.
past. Semi semi retired. Um,
Semi-retired. Nice.
but yeah, even where I'm working right now, there's two guys that apprenticed at my old shop when I was there. So it's kind of cool to have that tattoo family around, have that lineage. Definitely trying to just teach them about tattooing, not the crazy lifestyle. They can
Telling him
figure
what
that
to
out on
avoid.
their own.
Yeah,
But
we'll show him this podcast so he
you
knows
know,
what not to do.
yeah, right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the first guy that I apprenticed, he was pretty crazy. That was a crazy situation. He actually got shot recently,
Oh no.
last couple
Oh,
of years.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was a little dude, and he graduated from being a little older to being a and didn't work out
Yeah.
great.
That was too bad. I heard.
What
Yeah.
wasn't super surprising, but it was sad.
Mm-hmm.
He was my buddy. He apprenticed for us and started in the '90s when we had our shop on San Pedro, and then he finished off his apprenticeship when we were downtown. But we inherited him from Ray Cedillo because
Mm-hmm.
he was one of Ray's littles, and eventually when we had our shop on San Pedro, Ray came and he was working for us. We actually had Ray work for us, and we had Big Ed working for us then, which was kind of crazy. And Ed, as always, was a handful and needed to be quite a bit. Um, but I guess that Ray was working for us, and he had told me that he would apprentice him. And then, like we were talking earlier, Ray died in the '90s. He got shot,
Mm-hmm.
and he was working for us when he got shot. Like me and him closed up the shop and said laters to each other, and then like the next morning, I'm watching the news, and
My.
I,
Oh.
yeah, I see him loading the body, and I'm like, fuck, I recognize those shoes,
Oh
And then I
yeah.
get to the stop, and
Oh no.
right, and I was like, oh fuck, that's those shoes,
Because he just
Homie was
showed you
just
the
showing me
shoe.
his new Converse or whatever, his Dennis Rodman's. Um, but yeah, so that was kind of crazy having to deal with all that, because he was pretty influential. And the guy that was my partner at the time, he was really really close to Ray, so that kind of like sent him on like a weird kind of nosedive. Um, uh, but we decided to take on because Ray had been like, yeah, I'm going to apprentice him, and he was always hanging out already. And as far as like tattooing went, he was a solid dude. He picked it up pretty quick and whatever. But he was part of that super gangster little crowd.
Yeah.
By the time we moved downtown, they were all hanging out at the shop like constantly.
Well, that's right. Because this was the '90s downtown, huh?
Yeah, it was like
nineties,
right
two
when they
thousands.
like late '90s. They were doing this whole like kind of revitalizing downtown, and they like opened up, let a bunch of bars open up, and kind of turned it into what it is now. Uh, so it get a little crazy, but it was a cool place to have a tattoo shop back then because it was the first time they had really like had a had a spot in Albuquerque where there was just a whole huge strip of bars and everyone would go down and party and they'd have all these like events and it was cool for us because we had parking behind our shop, so like everyone that we knew would like park behind the shop and like there'd be like a show over at the launch pad or something, and everybody that was like going that knew anyone at the shop would like come check in and whatever. So
I remember
we had the
looking for you
interesting mix.
there. Yeah.
It was, and we had Ed working for us down there too at one point. Um, so we were kind of like the punk rock crowd, and then Ed with all the like the skinheads hanging out, and then we had our apprentice Randy, who was like a full on blood. Like those dudes just used to
Oh,
wear red
really?
head to
Oh,
toe,
oh, wow.
dickies, and their socks all pulled up, and low riders and the whole 9 yards.
Oh,
And they were all cool dudes, but
just
they brought a lot of
gangsters.
trouble with them,
Yeah.
and also
Bullets.
a lot of the punk rock and skinhead dudes were like going downtown and starting trouble, and it was following them back to the tattoo shop. There'd be big old stupid brawls in the middle of the street, and cops, and yeah, I mean, tear gas, all kinds of stupid shit. There was more than one time that we had, helicopter spotlights on the shop. Not the best business plan, but we
So they
we were
finally,
we, we were
go ahead.
we were pirates. We weren't trying to
Yeah.
like enforce a whole lot of shit, which eventually kind of got out of hand. And when I tried to reel it in, nobody else really wanted to help, which is one of the reasons I kind of just left that shop because it was kind of one of those things. Once the cat's out of the bag and everyone's that crazy,
Yeah.
it's hard to get everyone to like get back on track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't trying to be a life counselor or a babysitter or nothing. So I was just like,
I
um,
I just think it's crazy. Albuquerque finally revitalizes downtown and they put in like, more clubs for bands and then you've got a tattoo shop and it just ended up worse for them. Every time they try, it goes.
yeah, I
uh,
mean, I've been to a few downtowns that have the same kind of thing, and I mean,
some cities are just
everybody gets
like
out of the
that.
bar drunk, and I mean,
Yeah.
I guess in one way it's like maybe keep it kind of localized, and that way it's easier to control that one little area. But
Oh,
I just avoid that shit now. I'm
for
just like, man,
sure.
it just seems like it's just that kind of group mentality. Like I don't know, when the sports ball team wins the championship, they go trash downtown or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but it's like that in all these spots that I've been to where all the bars empty out, and it
Uh,
gets turns into chaos.
yeah. In Albuquerque,
Cops
they
with the
just
horses.
shoot each other.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And just guns. It's always guns.
Yeah, I mean, I've I had a friend that got stabbed downtown. They didn't even know who did it. I don't think it ever got solved. Just
Really.
like cool kind of stoner dude, just random shit. So, that shit has just gotten crazier and crazier. Just the senseless randomness, but it's always kind of been there. So I don't know.
Oh,
Just don't
go
want to
ahead.
deal with it.
Yeah, just avoid that. Tell us how you got
Yeah.
tattooing legalized in New Mexico. Tattoos were
Oh
illegal,
yeah.
weren't they?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I got the second license ever in New Mexico, number two.
Number
Um,
two.
but
That's you. That's not good. I
yeah,
shouldn't.
that was hey, you know where else to go but up. That was like I don't know mid late '90s again. Um, we just started our shop, moved locations. We had the place on San Pedro, which was a nice spot. I mean, we probably would have kept that for a long time if they hadn't booted us. But yeah, we just one day have like all these, investigative reports deals like, illegal tattoo shops in Albuquerque, and you're like, hey, I know that shop, my homie's shop. It's on TV, and just there was like some underage kid got tattooed, but one of the parents signed for it. Kid was divorced. One of the parents wasn't having it. Was all pissed off that the other parent signed for a tattoo. And we used to do all the shit and do release forms and take all the IDs and whatever. But we had just opened a shop, never looked into whether it was legal. There was other shops, what wasn't a big deal. And I don't know where this kid got tattooed at, but apparently one of the grandparents of this kid worked for one of the city councilors and came in like, I can't believe my kid got tattooed, blah blah. And then they looked up the ordinance to see if there was anything they could do about it, and it came up that tattoo shops were illegal in Albuquerque. They
From
had
from way back
they
when?
had banned. Yeah, it was like early '60s. New York City banned tattooing. They were doing this whole stupid thing. They're going to have the World's Fair in New York City, and they were trying to clean up like some of the seedier areas. And they came up with a couple of different like kind of bullshit reasons to ban tattooing in New York. But New York City does something like that, and then all these like smaller cities are like, hey, well, New York did it, we should probably do it. There's probably a good reason for it. Um, and this is why there's not like a really deep, long tattoo history in Albuquerque, because like there probably wasn't a whole lot going on here, and then they banned tattooing, and it wasn't a place where, even though it was kind of the wild, wild west, like tattooing didn't really develop a whole lot in Albuquerque or in New Mexico, other than maybe like black and gray prison style kind of stuff, which is a whole another. Yeah, Brian Everett comes over to my shop and is like, hey, we need to get on top of this. So we formed a coalition. We had like all the shop owners meet up, which was like kind of a weird thing because Albuquerque's kind of cliquish and has its own little scenes, and then tattooing is like kind of cliquish. So like, you know, shops didn't really associate with other shops, and you didn't really like blah blah blah. So like getting all these like rival shop owners in one room to actually like cooperate and be adults was kind of like unheard of, um, at least in Albuquerque. But yeah, so we started a coalition, and then we uh, helped kind of figure out what we needed to do. We invited the health department to come in and check out our shops. We needed their help. The health department was going to be the ones in charge of inspecting, and if they didn't want to do it, then we needed someone to help sponsor the bill. So we had the head of the health department come in, and we showed her, how we make needles, how we sterilize them, how we clean, run autoclave, how we set up, universal precautions. Uh, and then uh, Brian was real close with the Association of Professional Tattooers. So we had this guy that worked with them fly in, and he did a whole like bloodborne pathogens, universal precautions kind of seminar, and we all pitched in money, and we charged like every artist in town to come do it, and then we used it to pay him. Uh, so it was like Dr. Chris Berry and Mick Beasley. She came in with him because she was part of the APT or the APT. But yeah, so we paid for the health department to do the same courses we were doing, and then um, we basically got like a bill, like an ordinance that was from someplace else, and we just wrote Albuquerque in and sat down with the health department and kind of hashed out like, certain little procedures and how much this was going to be. And uh, yeah, we had to meet with them like, I think it was like 6 months. We had to meet like once a month or something, have a meeting with the health department, all official with like tape recorded and notes and stuff. And once we had an ordinance, then they helped sponsor it and send it to city council. And th- I think during this whole process, we ended up having to move the shop from San Pedro to downtown.
No.
Um, it kind of worked in our advantage because the health department was in the city building downtown, and so they were able to come over and
Oh,
inspect our brand
oh
new
yeah.
shop like right away. And then once you were approved, you had to literally go to City Hall and go to like the media room down in the basement, and like it was like getting your old school driver's license. You had to get your picture taken, and then they had to like cut it out and like laminate it onto like this big old paper deal. As soon as we were approved, we just like went over there before we opened the shop one morning and just got our licenses done.
Yeah.
So got number two, whatever.
You're number two.
Yeah, that was the last time I tried to even deal with politics or any of that shit. And
Okay.
that
You
was just sheer survival, you know. I mean, I had no clue about it, no desire, but all of a sudden you're like, fuck, I got a shop and I just had a kid, and like I can't let them shut me down, you know.
but you guys did
I
it. You
can't.
all worked together and got the law changed.
And so eventually the state took it over, and like now everyone in the whole state is basically licensed under the original ordinance has been kind of fucked with since then, and there's some shit that they've done to it that I think is ridiculous. But um, hopefully, I can just train a bunch of good tattooers, and they can deal with that shit. You know, I don't mind fighting with the health department; they're fun to argue with, but I mean, it just gets old. You know,
No, you did
so
it. You guys changed. You did a lot of work and got the law changed. I'm impressed.
but I mean, it was pretty historic for tattooing because they could have just crushed us. They could have just run us the fuck out of town, and like the health department could have been like really
Wow.
shitty about dealing with us. You
Wow.
know, but the fact that we knew what we were doing, we showed them how stuff was manufactured all the way through the sterilization process, and uh, they didn't know anything about it. I mean, the inspectors usually still don't, but like the fact that we actually were professionals and knew what we were doing. I mean, we looked like a bunch of bikers and punk rockers and whatever, but when it came to tattooing, we were actually kind of on top of it and relatively articulate about what we did. Um, but yeah, I'm glad all that shit's over.
Uh,
I
well
don't miss
done.
dealing with any of that. Yeah, it's a big back piece. It's just random artwork. Yeah, this is going on a friend of mine. We're I don't know, got like 10 hours into it or something. We're working on the color. Yeah, like I said, I try and do some bigger pieces, and I do a lot of sleeves and a lot of tying. People have a bunch of tattoos and they want it all tied together. Finally, working on tiny little pieces is so easy for me to like
Yeah.
mess up these days. I've done my share of little lock-ins, and luckily tattooing's changed where like there's a lot more people wanting to get
Big
big work,
pieces. Nice.
get tattooed and get tattooed in the 80s or the 90s. You get something like this big, and you're a thug all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Yeah, but now it's popular.
But like I said, other than that, I'm pretty boring these days.
I'm proud of you.
You know,
Be
I
boring.
still I still drink too much, and I still smoke too much, but I mostly just come to the tattoo shop and then go walk my dogs and try and stay out of trouble. In years I've always had dogs, so that's this kind of helps like stabilize you out. It's like having a permanent kid all the time. You
Yep.
gotta have some sort of responsibility for it. So,
Yep.
but
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I
Uh,
I don't really do conventions anymore.
mm-mm.
Every now and then, I'd like to do some in the future, but I don't know. I did a lot of conventions, a lot of traveling, so it's been kind of nice to just chill out. Uh, Even towards the end of doing conventions, I kind of was trying to shift out of being like the crazy party animal guy causing trouble and shit. I mean,
What cities? Where'd you go for the
just get kind of
conventions? Where'd you go for the conventions?
Um,
Like all the big cities?
yeah, I did conventions, East Coast, West Coast. I never really did a whole lot of like middle America. I've done uh, I've done a lot of shows in like L.A., Long Beach kind of area. The Ink Slingers Ball was a cool one. That was like at the Palladium in Hollywood. Um, Ink and Iron, that was a cool one. It was on the Queen Mary in Long Beach. Um, that could be a whole another episode of trouble.
Oh no.
Um, I think yeah. Um, and then yeah, I used to do a lot of traveling, a lot of guest spots out to like San Francisco and I used to do the national convention. So they had some California shows. I did a national show in Reno. I think I might have done a Florida one, but yeah, our friend Tony Olivas, rest in peace. He used to organize shows, so uh, he would do like Atlanta and some Florida shows. He did a show in Colorado, but I also did a bunch of random like East Coasty kind of like a couple of Pennsylvania shows and I can't even remember. But yeah, and traveling to tattoo, I've done some cool stuff. I think I've done a bunch of little podunk shows too, but
Went for those big city shows, California and New York.
yeah, I've never done New York. I've been to New York, but mostly when I was like selling drugs and shit. But I've never really gone there and tattooed, and I've never done their convention just because I don't know. I probably couldn't make enough money at that convention to pay
Pay
for
for the
a New
trip.
York trip.
No kidding, I would bet.
Yeah, it was kind of a desert for conventions when I was starting because it's fucking Albuquerque. You're like a million miles away from
Yeah,
like everything.
everything.
Um, so I first started tattooing and had my kid and traveling wasn't really on the budget, and then I think uh I think when we had the San Pedro shop, we did like a El Paso show, um, down to Juarez. We all have some good Juarez
No,
stories.
oh no. Uh-oh.
But like getting to shows from Albuquerque when you're in the 90s and you're
Broke.
any city is 6 8 hours away from
Yeah,
you, even driving. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So if you lived on the East Coast or the West Coast, like there's like it's so much easier to like do the circuit of conventions.
yeah.
So yeah, getting to do a lot of conventions. Like, eventually was like saving up money and just making it happen, flying out to places. Some of the first ones I ever like went and hung out at, some of the old tattoo tour ones, like I think San Diego was like just fucking get out there and just hang out at the show. Like you couldn't even get a booth or nothing.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know. Uh, Brian Everett and those guys were doing shows and eventually sponsoring shows, but they were the only ones you ever saw. You'd show up and tell people you're from Albuquerque, and all they'd do is ask you if they knew the other, like the guys in the magazines, and you're like, ah. So I didn't actually get into the magazine. I think it was a tattoo I did like '98 or '99. It got like a full page, like it was this back piece that I finally was making enough money tattooing and only had my kid part. By the early 2000s, I started doing a lot of shows and showing up. Sometimes just a party, sometimes tattoo. Yeah, so def- definitely saw the United States. I never really managed to get too far out of it. I know you were able to go all over the place.
Mm.
Um, maybe maybe I'll do some European conventions one of these days if I get motivated. But
Yeah, it's okay. You stay
I'm
home
not
and be
super
boring.
motivated right now.
It's so much easier to stay home
Yeah,
and be
I'm
boring.
okay with that for right now.
I only leave the
um,
house when it's
yeah,
really worth it. Like if it's a trip that's really matters. Uh, yeah, and But other than that, I stay home. I'm good. It's a
Yeah,
complicated world these days to be trying to travel. It's not like it was 5, 10 years ago.
keeps me out of trouble, you know.
Good for you.
And then even yeah, I don't even really go to shows or anything. I don't want to have a couple of drinks and get a DUI for being half buzzed.
Proud
You
of
know what I
you.
mean?
Good
So
for
I just
you.
avoid it.
Good for
I
you.
figure if there's anything I want to see in the future, I'll make it happen.
Good
But
for you.
um, yeah, pretty happy being boring right now.
On that note, go home and walk
But
your dogs. Go home and take a nap with your
yeah,
dogs.
they're probably ready.
Yeah.
So I got to do some shit around the shop
Yeah.
to do
Thanks
this.
for
But
spending your whole
yeah,
day
I don't
with
know.
me.
Yeah, I think we covered quite a bit. We could probably get deeper on a few things at some point, but
It
um,
gives
yeah, it's
me stuff
definitely
to work
been
with.
been fun walking down memory lane.
Yes. Uh,
We didn't even cover a whole lot of stuff about our times back in the day, but
no,
you know, like
no.
I said, I was only there for parts of it. You know,
Yeah,
I
me
had a
too.
lot of shit going on, so
But you always remember the good
but
people. You always remember the good people, and you're on that
yeah,
list, man. Thanks. And you've been a great
yeah,
person
no,
ever
for
since.
sure.
Love it. Yeah. Proud of you. Keep
No,
work.
it's cool. It's cool touching base. It's been cool watching some of the interviews you've done. You know, Simons was really cool. It was cool seeing him. You know, Tommy and Marty, all that stuff's been super cool. It's going to be cool to see who else you wrangle into it.
It's not required. I promise it's not required. I I just think some people are great storytellers, and also Albuquerque has a story. It has a skate story, a punk rock story, a music story. Like we were just
Oh yeah.
there when the world was evolving. We were the first stop out of California. Like we saw so much stuff. We gotta record it, write it
Well,
down, something.
our generation, like a lot of the stuff that we got exposed to was like brand new.
Yeah,
You
insane.
know,
Like,
like thrash metal was brand new. Like hardcore punk was like brand new. Even rap was brand new.
everything,
Tattooing like blew up.
everything.
Skateboarding was
Yeah,
brand. So many of the generations after us, that's just kind of part of pop culture. But it was like something that our parents or our older siblings had never like really been into.
never. And I just feel like,
Skateboarding in the '70s and punk rock and like just so
yeah,
many things that were like it definitely influences on maybe the uniqueness of the crowd that we were hanging out with,
totally,
how crazy things got.
totally.
And I mean,
I just think, like,
it definitely affected tattooing.
oh my God, the tattooing, the music, the people. If you're from Albuquerque, you just know. And we're historic, and we did a bunch of crazy stuff, and I'm gonna have it recorded.
It's going to be cool to listen to it all because yeah, Albuquerque definitely takes it pretty hard. I mean,
I
even the amount of like crazy tattoo artists that came out of here, and the amount of even the music scene over the years has like gotten pretty good, and you can pretty much see all the bands you want to see unless it's something really major. It usually skips Albuquerque still, but compared to
hardly.
what we had.
But even back then, there was concerts and there was tattoos and there was punk rock and there was heavy metal and uh, we
Well, we kind
experienced
of
all
kind of
of
made
it.
our own scene, with the like
Yeah,
like the house parties and
yeah,
kind of making up for the lack of like actual places to go.
yeah.
There wasn't really like all ages shows when we were younger.
No.
It was very rare to find like some place where you could go see a punk band that wasn't a bar. So you started just going to the house parties and meeting the people that you met and getting into the trouble you got into.
So does mostly we need to thank Ray for sending all those letters to California and to bands when he was ordering music. Thanks, man. Changed our
Yeah, I
lives.
mean, you know, this was like the '80s. It was still pen pal kind of action. Couldn't send an email, so you had to send a
Yeah.
mail.
And he did, and
So
they came. And we
Yeah, I
represent
mean, he
it.
was always kind of like, here's my phone number. I got a spot. You guys need to like make some gas money. Half the bands you would see coming through were coming from Arizona, going to Texas or Colorado or some shit. They're in some stinky punk rock van with 4 or 5 dudes that were fucking sick of each other and didn't have enough
Angry.
money for gas or whatever kind of drugs to get
They
to their
got
next
money for
stop. So
tattoos, tattoos and acid
yeah.
and uh,
Well, they
speeding.
we we'd pass the hat around and get them high and get them back on the road.
Nice,
That's
nice.
what I remember from a couple of those incidences. I mean, I've even had I've lived in an apartment building right off of Central, and we had bands play in the parking lot just to make them $50 for the road until the cops
Nice.
came, and then the cops would come and shut it down. Just
Make,
random impromptu. So
making it
yeah,
work.
yeah, gotta
Making
make it
it work.
happen. Gotta make it happen.
Well,
So well,
history was
glad
made.
you're making the podcast happen,
Thanks.
recording some of this
So
crazy shit.
it just has to be done because it all ties together. I mean, all the way down to Beavis and Butthead. It all ties together.
Right,
Everything's related.
Highland High School.
Yeah. Take
um,
care, Abe. Good luck to
but
you.
yeah,
Uh, I'll
yeah,
be in
I'll keep an
touch.
eye out for the podcast. Let me
Please,
know when it's happening, and I'll
please.
check it out.
Well, and watch
Um,
the people you
but yeah,
don't
it's been good
know.
talking to you.
Thanks. Watch the people that you
Yeah,
don't know.
I haven't had a chance, but I started watching a couple of
Yeah.
couple of the ones karate
Yeah.
people, whatever.
Just the
When I get a
so
chance, I'll dig into some
yeah.
more of them.
It's
It
my
should
way
be
of
pretty.
introducing my friends to each other, because you can't really bring people
Yeah,
together anymore. So I got to make sure everyone gets to know each other.
yeah. Well, it was cool meeting you and your friend and taking you guys around the other day, showing you the Albuquerque tour. So
Yeah,
that was fun.
thanks.
Fun way to reconnect and
Mhm.
show somebody else the other side.
Yeah,
She seemed
poor
like she got her
Mary.
mind blown a little bit.
Poor Mary. Yeah.
She was
I
cool.
told her she was
Cool, cool.
security. Security. Take care. Take care, man. I'll be in touch. Thanks for all the cool footage that I get to
Yeah,
use.
for sure.
Yeah.
Say
Bye.
hi to everyone out in the internet, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.